What signs do you look for to know if someone is emotionally available? It's a good one. You can get started with that.
Okay, what signs? Well, first of all, I think that communication is key, right? So communication, how responsive they are. And is this talking about romantic relationships?
Yeah.
Or, okay, so when it pertains to romantic relationships, communication is number one. And I'm sure you're probably going to agree with me on that. So communication, how responsive are they? Are they able to articulate feelings? Are they engaging with me? Are they answering questions? Are they asking me questions? Are they genuinely, authentically curious? The second thing I would say is authenticity, like how authentic I feel they are. So communication, authenticity. And I guess to give you a little bit more context in regard to the authentic piece, I think that we innately know when somebody is being disingenuous. And I think sometimes when you like somebody, especially romantically, we tend to chameleon into what we think they might like. And I feel like when you're a connected person, when you're aware, conscious, you can feel that and you can sense that. And I think that sometimes often that creates the sort of wedge between your ability to connect and not to connect, because you can see that disingenuous thing. And I would say the third thing, let's see. I don't know. I think the third thing would probably be how quickly they do what they say they're going to do. I think that that's like a big one. Because if you, let's just, for example, say the person that you're with or you're attracted to or you're into is great at communication, they're really authentic, and they say that they're going to do something and then they don't do it. And then they say they're going to do something again, they don't do it. They say they're going to do something and then they don't do it again. At that point, it's like this person has no follow through. And I think that's really important when you have any type of relationship, romantic or friendship. So actions, I guess. Actions speak louder than words. And to me, I've always said, people will show you who they are. They're always going to show you. People talk all the time, lip service. They can just tell you, you know, who they are and the type of person they are, what's important to them, their values. But to me, actions are always going to speak louder. So those are my three.
I love that. Yeah. In my own journey, I would say dating emotionally unavailable men was for sure the first year and a half of it. And doing a lot of deep shadow work on why that was. It was because to a level I was emotionally unavailable. And I really sat with the medicine of what does it even mean to be emotionally available, right? And I feel to be emotionally available is to also be open to the inevitable pain that happens in a relationship.
Yeah.
When you're still recovering from the former pain, you just can't be emotionally available to someone else because you don't have the bandwidth to potentially get your heart broken again. And by the way, any relationship will break your heart, whether it is you actually breaking up or you staying together for the rest of your life and continuing to break each other's heart, which actually is like even more heartbreaking, you know?
That's true.
And so if you're still like, so I remember looking back on like right after my divorce, I was like, I really want to be in, because I'm such a relationship person. I'm like, I really want to be in a relationship. Why isn't it happening? Clearly, now looking back on it, it's like, could I have handled another heartbreak then? No, I could not have handled it. So subconsciously, I was choosing men who I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere with, because then I wouldn't have to have my heart broken.
I have a question. I'm like, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but it's just like, I love when we have these conversations because I'm like, okay, but in that experience, like when you were in that, did you know that you were talking to somebody that was emotionally unavailable, like inside?
Yes, I knew.
Okay.
I knew.
How did you know that? Like, what was the sense?
Because I would choose them based on who they were rather than how they were with me. And so I feel a lot of times when we are emotionally unavailable, and again, I'm saying this, that this was in my own self, I would choose them based on their career inspired me. I like how they looked. Mostly those two. I'm like, what else? Yeah, that was it.
So it was the external. It was like
it was the
superficial.
external. I was choosing them based on the external. I knew that these were not going to be people who I would have a future with. So I'm like, this is kind of the moment to date like an Afrobeats artist, you know? didn't even go anywhere, right? So, but because of that, it was like a cool thing that it didn't like, it wasn't going to question me. It wasn't going to make me go any deeper. It was a fantasy.
Yeah.
Right. And so I feel when we're not ready for a real relationship, we choose people based on fantasies because a fantasy is not going to, trigger you. You can put all your love and obsession on this person who's really like, sometimes he'd message, sometimes he wouldn't. And it was a mind games. And I think he had some level of fantasy around me too, but he was in a different situation. So it was not meant to be, but we were kind of these muses in each other's lives, I would say, right? Because both of us were emotionally unavailable to one another.
Yeah.
And that's the second thing I want to add. You could be emotionally available to one person and not to another. So now I'm going to say, having been receiving this, if a man is emotionally unavailable to you, it means he doesn't want to be with you, period. Because that same man is emotionally available to someone else.
Yeah.
Or he might not be. He might be emotionally unavailable to everyone. But most men you talk to, when it's like their girl that they know, like this is the one, then all of a sudden they're saying things they've never said before, doing things they've never done before, acting in ways they never have before. And like we've talked about this, it is like in relationships, it's like the man like recognizes the woman and he's just like, that's my girl. Like, I want to be with you. And then all of a sudden, like he has to be with all these emotions. He has to have these vulnerable conversations. Otherwise he's going to lose her. So he's like, fuck. Like, I have to. If he doesn't really care about you that much, then he can breadcrumb you. Yeah. He can text you once a week.
Yeah.
He can send you a pic, never respond again. And likely guys like that are typically like really good looking guys or very successful guys. So they have a lot of different options that they don't need to be vulnerable. They don't need to. Yeah. But likely they do have someone that they had their heart broken by. And that was the person they were emotionally available with. They had their heart broken. So then they have this shield with everyone else. And now looking back on it, I'm like, why did I even fucking waste my time? Yeah. It's like if a guy is in, like people would say this, I would read this, but it was still like, you get on the other side of YouTube where it's like, make him fall in love with you. It's like, if a guy is into you, you'll know. Yeah. You will know and it will be obvious and there's nothing you can do to actually make him stop, Yeah. And if he's not into you, you can do all the dark feminine, eye-gazing, triangle gaze, manifested, full moon ritual, yoni magic, whatever you want to do. And it's not going to go anywhere. You might get his attention for like 5 minutes and it's going to go elsewhere. Yeah. So
what do you think that's from though?
The obsession?
Our desire, the obsession.
Because we have this idea of if I'm with that person, that means I am. If I'm with that person, that means, so it's like, look at what your type is, look at like, for me, obviously it was before I was making music, So for me, this artist was very inspiring to me. I wanted to literally subconsciously be him. So I was like, oh, if I dated him, then I'm around that music all the time. And it was his music. That was really it, but then once I started to produce music and make music and literally like realize he was like a complete mirror to me. It's like the attraction went away and then I actually outgrew it and then actually was just like, what the hell was that, But it was actually a beautiful thing that my brain did. Yeah. It kind of used this person as like a muse to help get me somewhere. And then I go beyond it. I have other friends that are really attracted to like very intellectual guys, right? Because part of them wants to be more intellectual, But then they're like, it's so annoying. These guys just lecture me all the time, And it's like, okay, well, what part of you wants to learn more, wants to have more information? I have a friend who's very attracted to like funny guys, who are like very lighthearted and free-spirited. But then it's like, okay, her journey is actually like becoming a comedian. Like that is something she has in herself. And I find that like we get attracted to these guys who we want to be like, and often they are emotionally unavailable because it's not actually about the relationship. When you start dating someone in a relational context, that person's not really, they're kind of your muse, but not really. Like that person's more of like a partner to you. And you start to like look at them not through like, I want to be you, but like, I want to be with you. And it's like super different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.